What's up guys, welcome to another monster guide, and today I'm going to talk about the Fire Inugami Raoq. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but we'll just go with that for the time being. So, the reason why I'm making this guide is because this is the monster that I always recommend to newer players for like a free-to-play fighter farmer, okay? Because this guy is farmable from Faimon Hell, or not, doesn't have to be Hell, from Faimon Volcano, right? You can farm him from the normal stages, even stage 1, and like the stage typically is not that hard. Like as long as you can get some decent friend reps, they can solo that for you, and eventually you'll get it, right? Maybe worst case scenario, you just bring your best units, and as long as they're like decently leveled, have some okay runes, you should be able to clear at least normal, right, with a full team. And it's worth just farming that for a little while to slowly level up some your units, and at the same time try to get a Fire Inugami. Eventually you should get one with a bit of luck. I mean, it's all RNG really, but with, eventually you should get him. And I believe he's worth building because first off, he's a 3-star monster, right? And that means it's not that hard to awaken him for a new player, because I know like from my experience of just leveling my ult, right? Because it's like prior to that, it was like a long time ago that I started a new account. But from what I remember of leveling my ult, it's really difficult to get high essence, right? Because you won't be able to do a very high level of the elemental dungeons for a while, and you'll be stuck just farming lows and like the occasional medium. So you know, if you're fortunate enough to get something like you know, like a water nat 5 monster early on, like say a Tor or a Chow, something like that, okay, you won't be able to awaken it unless you buy an awakening pack. It's going to take you a long time to farm enough high essence, right, when you can't even do B7 or higher elemental dungeons. But for 3-star monsters, it's a lot more feasible. That's why I think it's better to build a Raoq as opposed to the water magic knight that you get at the start, because it's going to be very hard to awaken her. And she also has very not very good late game applications as opposed to Raoq, where a lot of people, you know, a lot of end game players, they use Raoq as part of their Necro Ep10 team, their speed clear team, and he's very good for that, right? So he's not a wasted 6-star. So just, yeah, I guess the point is just don't be afraid to 6-star him. Now, as for the rune build, I have him on Violent Revenge, and this build is for Necro, right? Because I want him to have more turns to do more hits, right? And then more, and of course more damage. And both Violent and Revenge help break the boss's shield. So like that's why he's on Violent Revenge, but you don't have to specifically use Violent Revenge. So if you're using him as a fodder farmer, you can use him on pretty much any set you want. Alright, the best one would be to use Vampire, because Vampire just gives him like the sustainability, and like especially if you give him on, I put him on Revenge, right? If you want to use him in Faimon Hell, he's the most safe build for him is the Vampire Revenge build, but you won't be able to get Vampire Revenge or you won't be able to get Vampire runes until you start farming Necro these days, unless you're very lucky and you get some good ones from the magic shop, right? So unless that happens, it's going to be quite hard to get a Vampire. But you only really need Vampire for Faimon farming. If you're going to use him in Tamor Desert, which is what I would recommend you to use him on to start with, he doesn't need like Vampire. He can use any set really. You can use a bunch of broken sets, like blade sets. You can use Fatal Blade, Rage Blade if you're lucky enough to get Rage runes. And yeah, Violent Blade works too. Everything works. You just need like the stats. And the stats that you really want is try to get him to max crit rate if possible, so 100%. The crit damage doesn't have to be as high as what I have, right? So I'll just go for my runes real quick. So you can see for my runes here, I'm stacking a fair bit of crit damage, and he's on attack, crit rate, attack. Alright, and the reason he's on crit rate is to help him get to the max crit rate, because I want him to always crit every monster. Because if he's critting every monster, then he's doing like consistent damage, and therefore you won't not kill something because you fail to crit, right? Because as long as you crit, like Raoq keeps moving and kills more, every unit basically. And on that note, I should talk about his skills. So first off, Scratch. So this is the basic attack of all Inugami, except this Raoq's one is enhanced when he gets awakened. So the enhancement is that he gets to attack, or has a chance to attack again with each subsequent hit, and each hit that he does has a chance to proc again. So sometimes you might see Raoq hit multiple times in one go, so it's really quick if you're using times 3 speed. You might see him hit like 5 times, or like all these numbers start getting spammed, right? That's him proccing additional hits, and it's a 30% chance each time he does an attack. So you can imagine he can potentially one-shot anything in the game with, assuming RNG is going his way. And as people probably realize, 30% proc rate is quite high for by come to us mathematics standards, right? Everyone's seen how much violent procs happen when it's only 22%. So imagine what it's like with 30%. And I believe there's no diminishing returns for each subsequent hit as well, unlike violent. So at least that's to my understanding. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't have diminishing returns per hits for each hit. Okay. Now the second skill is Team Up. So he brings another ally, that's assuming he's not stunned or crowd controlled, right? Assuming he can move, he'll bring him along, and that unit will do their first skill. Right, so this is really good with any unit that has a very strong first skill, or something that procs multiple times. For example, Tyron's first skill, or like an additional Raoq, because the additional Raoq will use the Scratch and proc additional hits. So Team Up is very useful for units like that. Verd is really good with Team Up because he's gonna increase the attack bar for you with his passive as well when he does his first skill, which is also a multi-hit. So this is another reason why he's nice in Necro. So both abilities have multi-hits, right? Team Up obviously is more consistent because he'll at least bring one other unit to do like an additional hit, right? At worst, at best he can probably bring something like a Shiwa that does triple hit, so this becomes a 4-hit ability, right? And as I mentioned before, he does subsequent additional attacks with this ability, right? So he also has multi-hits with this skill. So that's why people use him in Necro. Now the third ability is a passive, and he gains an additional turn every time he kills an enemy. So this is why he's really good as a photo farmer. So assuming you can one-shot the first unit, he'll get another turn, and he'll attack another one again, and if he keeps one-shotting them all, then he just wipe the whole wave out in one turn, right? This is really good, fast, efficient farming, and that's what makes him, so nice as a fodder farmer. And so I'll show you a run in Tamor Desert, right? So my runes are probably going to be a lot stronger than the newer players, but you can do this with weaker runes, right? I'm just going to show you an example with my runes because I can't really spend the mana to move stuff around to show you, but you can definitely do it with lesser runes. Like my level 32 ult has a 6-star Raoq with runes from clearing the stages. So I'll go through that after this run, but you get like rune packs from clearing certain areas of the game, like for the first time, and it's basically a new mission that they've added to help out newer players. It's actually been a while since they added it in, but you can see here my Raoq did this in 34 seconds, and I'd say that's a pretty slow run. He can do it a lot quicker, so it also depends on your fodders, right? So who you bring as a fodder. And yeah, you can definitely do a lot quicker. So if you're not fussed about using crystals really quickly, then Raoq is really nice as a fodder farmer, right? Especially when early game, experience boosters are a bit more valuable to you, right? For late game, people get experience boosters so much and they don't really have a lot of things to build. But early on, you have so many things you need to build, so you want to make the most out of your double experience boosters, right? So having a really fast fodder farmer like a Raoq is really good for that. I mean, you can save up your energy and stuff. If you're a free-to-play player, save up your crystals, and then once you're ready to pop an experience booster, you do that, and just try to spam as many runs as you can within that 12 hours, or 24 hours if you buy the crystal one. I would recommend just try to stick to the ones that you get from events, and like the monthly 12-hour booster that you get as well. Eventually, once you 6-star units, you also get more. You know, you get an additional 12-hour booster every time you 6-star something. So once you get to that point, it's very easy to just keep doing double experience, even just once a week. Now, just to show you what how to get some starting runes, right? So I've already completed the mission, right? But so this is the first mission: clear Iden Forest, right? So you need to clear. I believe you need to clear all the stages in normal, right? Normal difficulty, and then you'll get a 4-star rune pick ticket, right? And the pick ticket means you can choose between, I believe it's energy, blade, and fatal, right? These are all like starting runes, like or starting, sets that are good for starting players. So for the 4-star rune pick, you should pick blade. All right, that's what I recommend. And the reason is because there's also another rune pick pack, and so it's this one you clear Chiruka ruins, which is the very last stage. Okay, and once you clear that, you'll get a 5-star rune rune ticket, right? And for that one, you should pick fatal, and therefore because you get 6 runes, right? You get a full 1 to 6 slot runes, and the main slot the main slot stats that you get for the slot 2, 4, 6, they're like appropriate stats for whatever that set is. So for fatal, I believe you should get attack, and then in slot 2, attack in slot 6, and in slot 4, I can't remember exactly, but I believe you get either crit rate, crit damage, or attack, right? They're all, like, whatever you get, it's good for a starting unit. And for that reason, you want to use, because fatal use four slots, right? And if you pick this one, this means you can have a 5-star quality 2, 4, and 6 percentage slot stats, right? And that's the most efficient, the most efficient use of the rune tickets. This allows you to have pretty decent stats for a starting unit, and with those runes, my Raoq was able to do Tamor Desert Hell, right? Occasionally he might fail if he's really unlucky, but as you improve the runes, level them up, try to get them to plus 12 for at least the 2, 4, and 6, and that will help you clear Tamor easier. Worst case scenario, you can just move down to hard for the time being and just do that for a little while. And the other thing that will help newer players a lot is your glory point buildings. So don't neglect this. This should be like these sort of buildings, like the speed totem, the crit damage totem, and a little bit into say like the HP, attack, and the defense one, right? These are all pretty good to have, and you want to start working on those after you finish your energy buildings, like your mysterious plant. You should probably max first, and then there's also the I forgot the one. There's also the energy building, like the maximum energy cap. So those two will be the best to start with, and then you work on your stat buildings. Because the more you increase the stat buildings, the easier it is for your Raoq to solo Tamor Desert. And just to show you, like, he can do Faimon Hell if he's lucky. It's not 100% reliable, but he can do it even though he doesn't have vampire runes. This is probably more for once you get to a higher rune quality stage, but he can do it. If you can't do Faimon Hell, you can also do Faimon Hard instead. And the difference between hard, like Faimon Hard and Tamor Desert, is the Faimon Hard stage will give you better mana, but the Tamor Desert Hell stage will give you better experience for your energy used, I believe. Or at least it'll be more efficient in terms of time to experience, alright? So usually I would say you would only do Faimon Hard if your runs are a lot faster than your Tamor runs, right? Like, you want to be able to fit in, like, if your speed's about the same on clearing the 2 stages, then you probably prefer Tamor because it gives you more experience, right? You want to level your units faster. Mana is nice, but I wouldn't worry about that as much until later on. As you can see, this one was a 33-second run, was pretty lucky. So he can do it with the runes I showed you earlier, but it's definitely a lot safer with vampire runes, and you probably need to grind them up as well to make it Faimon Hell ready. So that's why, you know, usually you'll start with Tamor Desert. It's the rune requirements for this area is really low, okay, and you know, you probably want to farm this anyway at the same time to get your Bernard, right, which is the Wind Griffin there. But you can also do Faimon, say, normal, right? Normal if you want. If you need to get skill ups for your Raoq, then do Faimon for like at least a little while, just to get some more Inagami, right? You don't need a lot. I believe you need about 5 of them to max skill. You know, you can still do Faimon for a little while, especially on certain events, such as if there's like a gift box event. It's been a while since they've done it, but gift box events are really good for Faimon normal, especially for newer players, right? Because it's very cheap to run Faimon normal, and you can do this while getting your Inagami skill ups, a bit of decent mana, and just level up some fodder at the same time. Just to show you a bit of a more of a late game application. So this is my Necro Speedrun. I think I've showed this before on like previous videos, but just for completion's sake, I'll show you in this video as well. So I use 2 Raoqs for my Necro team. Not everyone will use 2. Actually, it's more common to just use 1, and then in addition to the Raoq, you would have one of the Lich, either the Fuko, which is the Wind Lich, or Raoq, I don't know how to pronounce the name, but that's the Water Lich. Or if you're very lucky, you can use the Dark Lich. The Dark Lich is probably the best one. And yeah, they're all good for this, because first skill is like a attack speed slow, and a second skill is a defense break. So the main reason to use Raoq is for the defense break. But by himself, he's probably not that reliable, because, you know, as I said earlier, the application rate of the defense break is only 75% with max skill. So that's why I run 2. That way I have 2 units that can do defense break. It makes them more reliable. But you know, if you use a Lich instead, that works too, because then you have 2 units that can do defense break, even though one of them is on a cooldown. And so, you know, defense break is nice to it's something you need on the boss if you want to do a speed run, right? To kill the boss as fast as possible. But he can also pretty much close to one-shot the boss with his additional procs. So my runs actually vary very highly because it depends a lot on how much they proc. If they proc a lot, the run can be like as low as a minute 20 seconds. I think my fastest run was minute 18, which you'll be able to see at the end of this run. But on average, it's usually about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. And if it's a very slow run because I got like something died maybe, then it might be a bit longer than that, like 2.5 minutes. Okay, you see this is a 2-minute run. It's about pretty normal sort of run. Now, as far as PvP is concerned, you've probably seen people like YDCB use Raoq in Guild Wars and stuff like that. To use him in Guild Wars, I feel it's best if you have a Velodual. He's the best to pair him with, and the reason for that is because he's got the fire HP leader, which is really nice to help keep your Raoq up, right? Because he's a very like vulnerable monster, which is why a lot of people tend to not use him. But with Velodual's lead, it helps keep him alive better. And the main reason is because he does cleanse plus immunity buff at the same time. So if your Raoq happens to get stunned, because he's not going to be on will, right? You're probably going to build him on Violent Revenge or Triple Revenge. Is also another PvP build that you can use. Since you don't have will to protect yourself, he's likely to get stunned or armor broken early on. So having a Velodual to remove that and give him immunity to protect him is really good. But if you don't have a Velodual, which I'm sure most people don't have, then you can use what I use, which is just the poor man's Velodual, and that is Delphoy. Okay, so she does the same sort of she performs a similar sort of role in that she cleanses and does immunity at the same time. Unfortunately, the main drawback is she only does 2 turns immunity, and it's on a 4-turn cooldown with max skill, right? So you'll have 2 turns where, unless barring any violent procs, there's going to be 2-turn window where Raoq's not going to be protected, unlike Velodual, which is a 4-turn cooldown with a 3-turn buff. So that's why he's better, but you can use it with Delphoy, right? So I've occasionally used her, not very often, but I have used her in Guild Wars, to protect Raoq. And basically the team is Delphoy, Raoq, and Chasun, right? So let me find Chasun. Oh, here she is. So Chasun is there for heals, right, and also the attack buff. So in addition to Raoq being able to defense break for himself, he will have attack buff to help him one-shot stuff. And of course, the Fallen Blossom is nice to help keep him up too, because he's, as I say, he's going to take a lot of damage because he's quite squishy, right? Unless you give him a lot of HP substats, which is not a bad idea if you can do it. Alright, so this sort of team that you would use him with is you probably use him against wind and fire teams, right? Because basically if the team only has wind and fire DPS, they'll only go for your wind units, right? Because, so let's say there's a wind unit there. He's got elemental disadvantage against Raoq because Raoq's fire. Okay, so that means the wind unit will always go for the wind units that you bring. Okay, he's not going to go for the elemental disadvantage unit, right? Even if the Raoq is defense broken, unless he's really low, I don't really see them using their single target skills against Raoq. And same thing for fire, right? So fire is elemental advantageous against your wind units, right? So enemy fire units will always go for your wind units. Maybe the exception will be if Raoq's defense broken, right? But that's why you want to bring Delphoy or Velodual or something similar to that can protect Raoq with immunity. ideally it's someone that can cleanse and do immunity at the same time. So you may be thinking, could I use something like a Draco? You probably could, but you have to keep in mind that the Draco will help cleanse your Raoq. So if your Raoq gets stunned, then you just have to pray for a violent proc. I'm sure there's other combinations that you could use Raoq in, but that's the main one that I would use him in, and I think it's probably the safest. So he's very niche. That's why a lot of people don't tend to use Raoq in PvP. But as I said, he is great in PvE. As you can see, he cleared Necro Ep10 pretty well. The other reason he's pretty good is for secret dungeons, if you care about that. So any win secret dungeon, he'll like just wipe out the waves for you. And yeah, just a quick thing just before we end. Just keep in mind you can farm him from here. Okay, you can farm him from stage 1, and you can do it on normal as well. I believe the drop rate of the unit, like the unit drops, right, are roughly the same based on difficulty. Like, you don't have to do Faimon Hell to get the fire Inugami. I don't know if the chances really increase that much, like going up difficulty, but if you should just do the highest difficulty that you can, and you probably do on the stage 1 because it's the easiest one, right? Like the later stages have armored units, and the succubus are pretty tough, and they have like a lot of debuffs and stuff. So you probably stick to the first one. I mean, it only has like hellhounds, which are very squishy, so it's a lot easier to kill them. Alright, so I'm gonna leave it there. I've already gone for quite a long time on just a Raoq unit, so feel free to ask me any questions. Anything I missed, feel free to ask me in comments, and I'll answer you as soon as I can. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope this helps, especially for the newer players. And so please leave a comment if you want to discuss things further with me, and remember to like the video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one. Bye bye.